Reach for the speed, reach for the whistle, go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
Sophie Hatter, and welcome to our pilot episode of Sophie Hatter and Friends. Today, me and the Lassies are going to be playing 7 games of the Thomas and Friends DVD experience.
Oh wow, Thomas and Friends! I'm excited! We have 4 Thomas and Friends DVDs. Thomas's Snowy Surprise, Makes Someone Happy, Thomas Gets Bumped, and Railway Friends. This is going to be one heck of a highlight reel. Thanks on the house! So which Thomas and Friends game should we play first?
Good question, Harold. We'll start with the Make Someone Happy DVD, and the first game we're going to play is the Character Gallery.
Alright, let's do it!
While they just, watch TV,
Thomas has many friends on the island of Sodor.
Pay attention.
Visit them all by pressing the left arrow button on your controller. Thomas can be described as a cheeky, fussy little engine. He often gets into scrapes, usually by being over-eager to do things best left to bigger and more sensible engines. But clouds never last long in Thomas's life, and he's soon bustling about again, playing his part in the yard and on his very own branch line, of which he is extremely proud.
Now it might be my turn to read, and you guys too. James is a medium-sized engine. His 6 driving wheels are not as big as Gordon's, and not as small as Thomas's. He has a fine scarlet coat and brass dome, and likes to think of himself as a really splendid engine. This can occasionally lead to highfalutin ideas about the sort of work suitable for such a noble creature. Invariably, they land James into trouble. Okay, you guys too. Sophie, you go first.
Percy is the junior member of the principal team of engines. He's a happy little chap who's normally quite happy puffing around a yard with no particular desire for adventure in the great world outside. He's always keen to oblige, a fact of which the other engines are apt to take advantage.
Okay, Claire, you're up next.
Henry is a long and fast engine. He has a thoroughbred look and, like all thoroughbreds, tends to be somewhat highly strung and prone to illness. But he has his new shape now, and sympathetically driven, he'll give any engine a run for its money.
How are you next?
Mavis is a feisty young diesel engine who works at the quarry. She is full of her own ideas and doesn't take kindly to advice. She has a lot to learn about freight cars, but with Toby's help, she's learned to be a really useful engine.
Nausicaa, you're next.
Gordon is a senior member of the engine family, the fastest and most powerful of Sir Topham Hatt's string, and he knows it. He is good-hearted, though, and always willing to forgive, and uses superior strength to help smaller engines out of trouble.
Miniko, you're next to read this.
Toby is old-fashioned, both in looks and outlook. Every engine, no matter how old, wants to be really useful, and having once nearly been scrapped, Toby is always happy to work. He's not above being temperamental sometimes, but since he works mainly up an outline quarter line, he can work off his moves without causing grief to anyone except his own favorite coach, Henrietta.
Now you, Cosmo.
Annie and Clarabelle were given to Thomas as a reward for being a really useful engine. They are much loved, but have both seen better days. Annie carries passengers. She's always pulled by Thomas and travels facing him. Clarabelle's a composite coach. She has one section for passengers and one for the luggage and the conductor. Clarabelle always travels behind Annie, facing away from Thomas.
Son, you're up next.
Bertie has a great deal in common with Thomas. Ever since their great race, they have been the firmest of friends. Bertie's strongest characteristic is his friendly grin and his readiness to help any engine to prepare to admit that just sometimes roads have their uses as well as rails.
August, son, you're up next.
In a railway family, Harold can hardly avoid having a high profile. He brings a welcome spot of dust to the quiet landscape of Sodor whenever he appears, and even if the noise he makes is occasionally wailing, he is good-hearted and the engines are always pleased to see him.
He told me you're up next.
Like all cranes, Cranky has a high and mighty attitude which often annoys the engines. Cranky knows that if he ever gets too big for his crane hook, the engines have ways of getting back at him. However, Cranky enjoys teasing him because, he says, it makes for good working relationships, but don't ask Percy if he agrees.
Now let's let Robin do last.
Many years since I first came to Sodor as a railway engineer. I rose quickly in the company, being a director at an early age, and eventually chairman. My imposing appearance, no less than my firm but kindly handling of both engines and staff, earned me the affectionate nickname of the Fat Director. Then, after nationalization, when I was awarded a knighthood for my services to the railway industry, I became Sir Topham Hatt, the Fat Controller.
I'm gonna stop right here for part 2, so stay tuned for our next video. For our next video, we'll be playing 3 games on the Thomas the Snowy Surprise DVD. But until then, I bid you farewell, tidy bye, ta-ta, to the peep, chin up, pip pip, cheerio.